I think. Oh, get all those out now.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I find your belching very charming, but
Same.
I don't know if the world at large does.
I don't know if it's ready for it.
We can break barriers.
We're
I'm ready.
we're really cracking open the field of belching in podcasts wide open.
You thought Hillary broke through the glass ceiling? It's Alton
breaking through the glass ceiling.
Oh. Boom. Boom. Genius. Hole in one at a par 9.
Set up.
That's a hard one.
Set up, swing in the hole. Good setup, good payoff. That's what people come to this podcast for.
That's what I come to this podcast for.
Right. All right. Now I guess we can go ahead and try and actually get started maybe. Hello everyone and welcome to Video Games Are the Worst Thing on Earth. I am your host Alton. With me as always is Reese. Say hello.
Hello. You're here with us again.
We are the guiding light of gamers. We are the ones to keep you from the gates of the incel community.
Preach.
We guard gamers against fascism and reactionaryism, if that's an ism. I don't know if that's a real word or if I just made it up. But anyway,
it is. It's a real word now.
It's a real word because I made it up. That's
exactly
how English works, people. Come on.
I can't believe we did another one. We're doing another one. But I think it's the right decision. We have more to say about what monsters gamers are and how gaming has done this to them.
It's amazing. It's like a never-ending font of content, honestly. The fact that so many people are making like content specifically for these people and not about these people is really just ridiculous.
This is definitely a podcast about gamers for non-gamers.
Pretty much.
That's how I would describe it.
That's a good way of describing it, actually. We are like jungle adventurers recounting our tales in the deep, dark nation of gamerdom.
Collectively, this podcast is Jane Goodall. We're demystifying things, giving you the information you need so you can delete gamers from your life forever. You don't need to wonder whether or not they're good people. They're not.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Citation needed. That's coming. That's coming to the podcast a little later.
All our links will be in the description. Or studies showing that gamers are the worst.
And video games are the worst.
Yes.
Thing
on Earth. Exactly.
And if anyone lived on the moon, that would also be included. But for brevity's sake, we're just including the Earth for now.
I mean, think about it. The moon is like the one place like that we could feasibly go to that's not been tainted by a video game. Lots of video games set on the moon, but the actual moon, never been a video game there. No like no dump sites full of Atari cartridges or whatever.
I'm ready to go. Alton.
Yeah.
After this podcast, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to get rich.
All
and pay Elon Musk so I can be the only person on the moon.
Speaking of rockets, I think that transitions pretty well into our first topic, a little game called Factorio.
Speaking of rockets and Elon Musk, because the degree of automation that this game encourages really puts me in the mindset of a technology-minded robber baron. And because I was thinking last night when we were playing, we have a big factory set up, and I was thinking,
colloquially known as the racism factory, by the way.
It is the racism factory. That's what we're making 100%. And I was thinking, if our little dudes in spacesuits wanted better health care and less hours, I would kill them on the spot. We are too busy creating red science potions and green science potions
Right.
to consider their needs at all. And I would be extremely angry at them for disrupting my reverie of genius. But anyways, let's explain what Factorio is
Right,
to people.
so we got dinged on the last podcast episode because people were like, oh, you didn't, other than you making fun of Ted Cruz and calling him the fat wizard, you didn't actually explain what Vermintide 2 actually is. And so
It's
this
about
time,
the fat wizard.
it is about the fat wizard.
I don't understand. I disagree with the premise of their criticism because it's about a fat wizard.
You have to stop him.
Yeah, I mean, you have to stop him. Otherwise, he's gonna make Texas great again.
Yeah, and you have to. He has like an army of rats that like follow him around to catch the crumbs of like bread and butter that just slough off of him. And that's why it's called Vermintide, because you have to get past the tide of vermin to get to the fat wizard.
Boom! There you go. It's explained.
That's the best summation of Vermintide 2, pretty much on the entire internet. So don't add us now. Don't add us about not explaining what that game is about.
You don't have our Twitter handles, so you can't add us. But if you did, I would request that you still not add us. Unless it's encouragement or support, then always feel free to step forward.
Indeed. But getting back to the Factorio topic, which we will now explain in a way which is straightforward and perfectly legitimate by reading off the Wikipedia page. Factorio is a real-time strategy video game. Wrong. Developed by Woob Software. It is available as an early access game since 2014. This information... Oh, here's some actual information. The game follows a man who crash-landed on an alien planet and must harvest resources and to create industry to survive and build a rocket. So that's the ultimate goal in the game. You build a rocket to escape the alien planet and the world that you have ruined by turning into a mega industrial factory.
I agree that it is not a real-time strategy game, at least where we're at in it. Sure, there's native life on the planet that you must exterminate by God's will. But most of it's like a simulation of automation. You know, there's a bunch of stuff you can craft and you can handcraft it, but the crux of the game is to automate the production of all the ingredients that you would need to make lights and power and weapons, and for each increasing thing that you need to increase your technology or whatever, you have to figure out a way to loop that into your automation system. And that's kind of the game, is figuring out how to optimize all of these systems in such a way so you yourself do as little work as possible. And you can spend your time writing op-eds for the New York Times criticizing people on food stamps.
Right. I would have gone for, you have free time to go around persecuting the native wildlife for chewing on your power cables.
That is what we're actually doing. And getting extremely angry when they get close to us. And one of the main mechanics in the game, I guess, is that the more pollution you produce, the animals can sense that you're destroying their ecosystem and will attack you. And you're just defending yourself by going out in your little automobile that you crafted with automation,
right?
And just turn them into goo.
Yeah, it is. We joked earlier about how it got us into the mindset of Elon Musk, but it really does have like a strong role-playing element there if you want it to be, because if you really get into it, you just start saying weird things, and that Reese can testify to it, that I went into some kind of trance while we were playing and just started saying, strip the earth, steal the flesh, or something like that.
You kept calling it our dark empire, and
Yeah.
I agreed. I'm just like, yes, yes, build Master General. And it's a fun game, though. I mean, we joke, but I think that the reason we're able to infuse all of the stuff into it is that it's kind of largely without context. You know, you show up, there's no tutorials other than a couple of like tip screens, and you're just there on this island with its systems trying to figure it out. It has co-op, so it's something we can play together. It has trains, so we're really into it.
So
You
it
can
instantly,
automate.
automatically appealing to any socialist. Public transportation.
And there you can automate the trains and have them deliver your materials from this place to another.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching a Twitch stream, and just the insane size that these factories get to, which basically stretches from miles and miles and miles. And just imagining the amount of racism that factory is producing is staggering. It's truly staggering and impressive, and we're nowhere close yet. We're little babies in our racism playpen.
Indeed.
Compared to that guy.
Like, I'm not actually sure why we're talking about it other than the fact that we like it. Like, we have nothing to say about gamers or gaming in relation to the Factorio, because Factorio is an indie game, for one, so it's cut off from, like, the most deplorable and despicable aspects of, like, the gaming industry, which is the AAA sector. And for two, there's not really been any controversies around it, but I find that the content of the game is something that is inherently tied to political ideology, because manufacturing and production has been so central to the Western world for like centuries.
Also, Notch loves the game, so
Oh,
I think
fuck. Well,
that
it's bad now. Sorry,
Yep.
sorry to let you guys know, but the Notch has said that he enjoys the game, and in solidarity with everyone who thinks Notch is a huge dipshit, because he is, we no longer enjoy the game either.
even other conservatives think Notch is a dipshit. Like, when you're getting dunked on by Mark Dice and you have $1 billion, I'm sorry, pack it up and just go to your candy house, which it seems like that's what he's basically done.
Excellent. Well, his candy house, the problem with his candy house is that it's currently, actually, all that candy's rotten. All that candy's spoiled. It's like fermented. It's turned to like candy goop in his like tubes that he just like squirts into a cup and then drinks it. And that would actually explain why he posts the things he does, is that he has like fucking fermented candy goop.
This is 100% true.
Yes.
There's been documented evidence that his fetid candy mold has attached itself to his body, kind of concentrating on the base of his skull. And there's a lot of people who theorize, maybe it's kind of InfoWars conspiracy type stuff, but it's worth a look. They theorize that the candy has actually taken over, and it's become sentient, and it controls Notch now. And I agree. I don't see any flaw.
Folks, we got our hands on some documents concerning one Notch on Twitter. He is in the possession of a house full of candy. This candy has gone off and has been infested with a brain parasitizing mold. I've seen the documents, folks. They're real. I think there's a special guest appearance by Alex Jones telling us about the brain parasite candy mold.
Alex, I just want to say I'm a huge fan of the bone broth. I'm drinking some right now. I have a big Mountain Dew 2-liter filled with the bone broth.
Jesus Christ!
And while I listen to Alton talk, or I pretend to listen to Alton talk, I just chug and chug and chug. And basically, the podcast ends when I pass out and Alton has to call the hospital.
Yeah. That's how every single episode ends. We cut that part out for time purposes, but it is canonically the ending, we have to go until Reese passes out from his Mountain Dew bone broth.
And, you know, at the start of this, Alton has expressed worry that we might have to talk for 2 or 3 hours before that happens. You know, he's a busy man. He's got a lot to do.
Right.
But it seems like that happens pretty quickly. You know, we usually get wrapped up after about an hour. I start to go into my heart fits, and Alton alerts the nurses.
They're stationed outside your door right now.
They are
waiting to come in when you when you begin to vomit a mixture of chocolate malt and Mountain Dew into the air like a fucking fire hose.
At the risk of being sincere for a second, I do kind of like talking about specific games on this podcast, just because I think that it gives people context to have an idea of kind of games like in the world beyond kind of just like the most basic stuff. I know we talked about the Sea of Thieves last episode, which is a pretty big game, but it's difficult to access. We can imagine a lot of people haven't played it.
Right.
And I think it's interesting to hear about these games from another perspective. And even though Factorio has the potential for abuse, as we've seen by our own behavior and its love of the Emperor of Minecraft, it's still a good game, I think, and it's got interesting things going on. And
Right.
you know, if you are a deplorable, unforgivable gamer, pick it up.
Yeah, it's a good game. Get it now because it never goes on sale, and it will eventually become $30 on full release. But we are moving on. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is, we were talking about this a while ago, just via chat. We were talking about how there really needs to be a name both for fans of this podcast and people who enjoy games in general, but are not massive reactionary chuds. Because I feel as though guilt by association has crept up and sort of made anyone who unironically identifies themselves as a gamer, you automatically jump to the assumption that this is a reactionary. If not a chud, then at least a reactionary.
Well, I absolutely agree with that. And I think, too, it's kind of a forced identifier that reactionaries have embraced, because I never really encountered the idea as a gamer as a serious identity, because everybody played games. You know, if you were a nerd, you probably played games, but that came with all this other baggage. But it really wasn't until Mountain Dew started doing that gamer fuel type stuff did I find that being inserted into the consciousness. And then, of course, the worst pieces of shit on earth saw that, you know, capitalist identifier, and they're like, that's who I am. That's me now. And that's what I think is the best thing on earth in general, is when reactionary conservatives and capitalism crash together for an identity that they hold so deeply that they will harass any woman off Twitter that says anything remotely against it.
Yeah, it's it's remarkable, really, just how quickly gamers as an identity, sort of pre-2008, I would say, as an identity, were very anti-conservative, and their big reason being primarily that because of the moral panic of like the early 2000s and late 90s, where you had all these conservative politicians basically coming out of the woodwork to blame violent crime on basically anything other than actual guns or a lack of mental health care or whatever. You know, it's all video games are turning our children violent. School shootings were caused by Doom. I don't know if anyone, our viewers know this, but it's a fact that before Doom, they never happened.
Yeah, I very pointedly remember after Columbine happened, they tried to figure out what could have caused these people to be like this, and Doom was really pointed out. They had a Doom map that looked like the school, I guess.
Yeah.
But as the information has come out about Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris, you just find out that they were dicks, and I forget who's who, but like one of them was just like straight up like a little neo-Nazi, and the other one was just his minion who just did everything that he said, and it had nothing to do with video games. It's just that they were pieces of shit.
Which, to be honest, being a big piece of shit is a huge part of the gamer identity now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
but like I was saying, so it's been a profound shift in the last couple of years, and I think that this has gone across multiple communities, not just like the gaming one, but where you see these originally anti-conservative identities sort of make this huge shift in like to like reactionary conservatives now, and it's happened to like gamers from when they were like they used to like just shit all over like conservative politicians for like daring to suggest that video games might affect people in any way whatsoever. And it also sort of happened somewhat in the atheist community. But I've heard about it, but I'm not an expert to speak about it.
I'd say that's absolutely true. In movies, the kind of film fans, you definitely kind of get those vibes from people who are fans of Zack Snyder and the DC Extended Universe a lot. Kind of weirdly enough, people who love Batman are a little fashy. I know that's strange. In literature, there was that whole debacle with the Hugo Awards where conservatives tried to hijack the awards because they felt that progressive sci-fi was unfairly winning all the awards, and so they tried to hijack that. But gaming is unique in the density and the acuteness of its kind of explosive connection to that identity. And it's like typified by Gamergate. I mean, I don't know, I would argue that was something that was boiling before Gamergate, and it just kind of like managed to peel off the scab when it happened. Just because gaming lends itself to spending all this time by yourself doing what, like, I game, I enjoy it, but it's essentially doing nothing, and being rewarded for it, and thinking that you're somehow a better person or somehow have something of value within yourself, when that is not at all the case.
Yeah, it's a pastime and like a hobby, and I would say it's even like a good hobby, but fundamentally the core issue here with gamers is that it's something that people have based their identities on, and it is the most hollow and vacuous activity to form an identity around imaginable.
Can you imagine if people who built model trains started just like viciously swatting anybody who dared criticize building model trains or built model trains for women or something like that? I feel like if I Google that, you would actually find something like that, sadly enough. But that's what I think of whenever I think of gamers who are like, and nothing, no diss against if you like to build anything, models, whatever. I'm not here to judge, but I just think it's funny you taking your hobby to such an extent.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing. I mean, more than anything, people don't like to talk about it very much because they'll send the cops to your house saying that, you have held somebody hostage and people have died from that. Nobody wants to touch the poop. These disgusting, unfuckable goblins in their basements. The people just made like the judgment is out. Just like, okay, play Dota, you won. I don't know anybody who, even people who play games, who thinks of gaming in a positive light, nor should they. That's the whole purpose of this podcast.
I feel like we are getting a little bit off track, though. The original topic is we want a way of distancing ourselves and our fans from the poop, basically.
True. Do you have any ideas of any suggestions of what we could call these people?
Game wankers.
Great. Done. Next topic.
Because you wank games.
My suggestion, even though it's not true, is just normal human beings. I'm just a normal human being, fan of the video games are the worst thing on earth. That's the name of our fans. And
normal human beings. Initially, that sounds like, that you just want them to not have a name. But no, you want them to refer to themselves as normal human beings. No abbreviation. You're just like, we're the normal human beings.
No, don't call yourself normies. That's a different thing.
Right.
We're the normal human beings. This is normal human being con.
Oh boy.
Where normal human beings across the country can meet, cosplay as their favorite normal human being.
Right.
And buy merch.
This is an identity centered around having a normal one. And appreciating games for being very normal and not having any kind of distinction or need to make that a part of your identity.
Maybe that's something we could bring to the next podcast. Maybe somebody out there who's listening has an idea of something that somebody's already come up with, or something that, I don't know, that they think of themselves as, because almost everybody that I think handles the hobby of video games normally just says, I play video games. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite Polygon video. They introduce themselves like, we play games. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's just like that fucking clip of where it's like, I'm too fucking weak. Ah.
I've not seen that video. You'll have to link it to me.
Yeah,
I don't watch Polygon content because they're SJWs.
Yeah. They hate all men and video games, and they wish that all video games were women.
My favorite evolution of late Penny Arcade, which is nightmarish and has always been so, but it's mostly bland now, but they keep dunking on Polygon because they didn't like the Punisher. They thought the Punisher didn't say enough about gun violence, and so Penny, the bad one, the dumber one who's does the art,
right, got
so angry because they dared besmirch the Punisher in their 7 out of 10 review. And so now every so often I keep up with it because I have problems, emotional problems, but they keep bringing up their problems with Polygon, and they're not articulated well beyond, oh my goodness, political correctness is taking over this country, and it's nightmarish.
That does sound pretty bad. I've never been a big fan of Penny Arcade. Even when I've read parts of it, but even when I was in my I think everyone probably went through like a big webcomic phase.
Well, I think that you're pretty lucky. My pre-woke phase, which I don't think was that bad. It's not like I was ever a reactionary or anything, but I was fairly liberal, I would say, leftish on the liberal spectrum, and I was pretty into Penny Arcade. I liked them enough to get a shirt, which is which is probably the most embarrassing thing that I own in my 30s life now. But To me, like watching it, and then after they did that whole thing where uh, the wolves that rape,
Oh, the
and
rape
people were
wolves.
like,
Yeah.
I don't like that you have a joke about the wolves that rape, and rather than them going, well, I can understand why you wouldn't like rape. They were just like, no, we're gonna make merchandise about the wolves that rape, and I was just like, well, okay. I think it's time to maybe distance myself. Listen, Reese. We don't have to grow up. We just have to distance ourselves from this deeply embarrassing thing and try to just move on with your life.
Right. It's a bit like that. It is interesting in that comparatively, you are now way more woke than Penny Arcade. I think in general, it kind of works like that old adage about you don't have to be, if you're running away from a bear, you don't have to be faster than the bear, you just have to be faster than whoever's behind you.
Exactly. You don't have to be woke. You just have to be more woke than Penny Arcade,
Right.
which is not difficult.
That's a low standard, and I hope that we can apply that to anyone who watches this. That just everyone should be more woke than Penny Arcade.
I co-sign the statement.
So, if you're our fan, please refer to yourself as a normal human being who is more woke than Penny Arcade.
Boom, we figured it out.
Nice
work.
Rolls off the tongue, short, concise. This was a terrible adventure that went poorly.
Speaking of terrible adventures that go poorly,
yeah.
I would like to just do a quick reading of this article that I found right before we started recording. I won't read all of it, even though it's fairly short, but I would like to call this segment Gamers Around the World. This is from US Gamer or Us Gamer. And
I believe it's called Uzgummer.
Uzgummer? Okay,
Yeah.
from uzgummer.net. In South Korea, there's a witch hunt against female game developers who align themselves with feminism.
Okay.
According to a report by AFP News Agency, a controversy was kicked off in South Korea recently at Seoul-based video game company IMC Games. The company reportedly launched a probe into a female employee for supposedly holding antisocial ideology.
Oh my
The
God.
accusation came after Twitter users found the female developer Sung Hui-jin followed several feminist groups on Twitter and retweeted a post which had a slang term for sexist men. Twitter users called on the company to fire her and called her a cancer-like creature that followed a dirty ideology. It apparently was enough for IMC Games
Hang on right there. I think we've just found a new name for our fans.
What's the new name?
A cancer-like creature that follows a dirty ideology.
Boom. That's us. The article goes on to say the woman apologized and vowed to unfollow feminist groups. There was Nexon in 2016 fired a voice actress after she posted a photo of herself wearing a t-shirt that read, "Girls do not need a prince," a t-shirt sold by the online feminist group Megalia. And it goes on to give a couple more examples of this occurring. But basically, ever since that Nexon viewing, it seems that there has been a vigil of South Korean gamers. And, to their credit, as in the esports scene, as it is being bigoted against women in gaming, our Asian counterparts just blast the Americans out of the water. And NA is going to have to step up.
Very true. Better at everything, even racism.
Absolutely. So I just saw that and I thought that would go in nicely with
I should have said sexism. Oops. I'm sure nobody will point out my mistake ever in the comments. It's not a thing people on the internet like to do, is pointing out your mistakes.
I don't see there's no reason that can't be true.
No,
Make it
actually, the
true.
best way to get engagement with your videos is to make a small mistake, and then everyone will comment on it.
That's great. Having me on the podcast, your ticket to gold.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be pretty difficult because they're gonna have to make like multiple comments for like every single part of the video. Like the timestamp on this will just look crazy.
I can't wait.
I can't wait either. Comment down below everything we did wrong.
All right. Do we want to quickly look over the American counterparts and their complaint on Kotaku in action?
Oh yes, let's get the link first. Where is it?
There's a thread on Kotaku in action. If you're unfamiliar, the Gamergate subreddit, where they show in the latest BattleTech game, you can choose your pronoun. They're very upset about this.
So the BattleTech game is it's a BattleTech game. I don't know. People should be relatively familiar with BattleTech, I think. But it's a real-time strategy game with mech. Well, no, turn-based strategy game with mechs. Comment down below my mistake. Published by Paradox Interactive and developed by Harebrained Schemes. And it's gonna be. It looks cool, and everyone who is a giant robot nerd loves it. I'm sad though because I prefer the third-person shooter mech games and not the turn-based ones. But continue with our story.
BattleTech devs HBS. I don't know what that means. Oh, the dev is called HBS. I guess.
Harebrained Schemes.
Harebrained Schemes play the pronoun game, and they show whatever your character is. You can change your pronoun. I don't know how in depth it is, but in my opinion, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So it's
All
like
right.
you can change your pronoun, and they probably have he, she, and then the screenshot shows they. Ooh, the horror.
Real bold.
The cultural Marxists are destroying the West by putting options in video games.
The first highlighted comment is from Steampunk Mustache, already starting out of the gate strong.
Right.
It's perfectly fine for them to do that, but I can't pretend it's not an indication that the developers' priorities are on other things than their game. I wonder what else we'll see from them.
Yeah, in italics. It's like, then their game. Like, this is a fucking dramatic reading. It's like... And then Stupid Star will toll Bell for Hot Pockets. Okay. Says, that's exactly how I feel. This kind of thing is a big red flag for me, both in terms of products and people. When I see it, I try to steer clear as much as possible.
I respect your opinion, Stupid Star. Good luck with those Hot Pockets. The next comment is from Gringos. Just
Right.
look at the story trailer. A queen is narrating, and the only two characters shown are a chubby female Asian mechanic and a black dude. It screams, look how diverse we made our game.
Oh,
Gringos, I feel for you, man.
Yeah, I can't believe that they put people other than fucking white dudes in a game. My whole reality is fucking crumbling around me.
The last one here I want to read. I think there's more rage, but this is the last really funny one to me because this, as far as I'm concerned, the more options I have when customizing my character, the better. Fuck what anybody else thinks. Hell, in XCOM, I love making SJW-looking characters as rookies and watching them get blasted apart by aliens. I don't get why people are mad about this.
Oh my god. And then the Rotting World says, you don't get why people are mad about devs signaling SJW agenda? Even after all these years? As if it ever ended in one concession.
On top of all of the other grievance stuff in here is just like having an Asian and a black dude is somehow like a political statement other than just like here are two people that are on the earth. I think it typifies what it's true the world over, but I think it's uniquely a issue within the reactionary gamer subset is reactionary gamers are fucking wilding out on transphobia right now.
Oh, it's
It
the new big
is
thing.
it is the golden age of gamer transphobia, and until like social mores improve to a point that it's no longer okay to slur them like they do, they're going to freak out about every pronoun thing. Every joke's going to be about assuming your gender, even though no trans person has ever said that. You know, the most assertive anybody I've ever seen is respectfully asking you to respect their who they are, which I know is a hilarious joke to them.
Right.
And I don't know, it's, you know, I don't have anything funny to say about it. I just think that it's something that I've noticed a lot. and I don't think it's not out there and being discussed as much as I'd like, of just how much they've just sunk their teeth into this, and how in every online thing, even from people who are otherwise like aren't coded as horribly, you know, they have kind of like a more normal disposition, there's still a lot of this transphobia stuff going on. If you see anybody online or a gamer make this joke, it's just like immediately write them off, immediately block, report them, because you do not need them in your life.
Pretty much. And I love how the new stance of gamers is that they want less character customization, because otherwise they might not be white and male.
Yeah, I mean, you're allowed to have one black dude who handles the demolitions.
Always.
And then Asian girlfriend, one of each, and then 3,500 white men.
Yes.
That is the racial and gender makeup of every game. If you disagree, they're gonna call your local police department and say that you're holding somebody hostage in hopes of getting the SWAT team, who barely understand what video games are.
They live in a video game.
Well, I don't think the podcast is ready for our we live in the video game conspiracy theory yet.
Nah, that's the next episode.
Next episode, we're all in the Matrix.
Yeah. Big shout out to Shitty Gamer Takes, by the way, for calling my attention to this, and then subsequently Reese's attention. At Gamer Takes, no space. They do a lot of compiling of things that gamers do that are shitty, but in an amusing way.
Yeah, you're great, Gamer Takes. Post more.
Yeah.
We need more shitty gamer takes, so we need content for this podcast.
It is truly a renewable resource, and we admire the work you do in archiving it for our purposes, which is to also make fun of gamers.
It's my life purpose.
Yeah. And we're coming up to an hour now. Do you think we should do another thing, or do you think we're good for topics?
I think we're mostly good for topics. I don't know how long. I don't know your next thing that you wanted to bring up. I don't know this article that you discussed. I haven't read it.
Yeah, I could maybe just read it to you. I don't know if it's actually going to be good enough for a bit, so this could be an entire section of stuff we cut out.
So let me just say in advance, if we're probably going to cut this out, this is where we should make all of our problematic jokes.
I identify as a cis male because cis is a slur, apparently.
I am an attack helicopter.
Oh Jesus!
That's the joke. That's my identity joke. Haha. I'm gonna make a whole thing about this. Anyway, sorry, your article.
Right. So basically, I work at an engineering firm, and around us are a whole bunch of like construction magazines and engineering magazines and like building magazines. And I picked one up just because I was curious about it, because it was talking about the housing crisis. But this is sort of interesting because it's completely outside of that, and it's in business media. with this guy called Ken Berry, and the article is the question: to tweet or not to tweet?
I know the answer, but
It's
I don't want to spoil it.
it's a very prescient article, and I think it affects a lot of our viewers who are extremely online. Probably all have Twitter. Probably all spend way too much time on Twitter. But I want to ask you, what kind of person would you imagine is like writing this article? There's a picture of them, so like give me like a description of who you think this is based off of the subject matter.
I think it's definitely a white dude. He has
Correct. Good.
a big fleshy head,
Oh man.
and he's got kind of like a very like close cropped haircut. That's, I would say, kind of sandy blonde, and he's extremely smug looking, bright blue eyes,
Holy shit.
and I don't know, and he's absolutely a racist.
So that's close. That's pretty close. How old would you guess that this guy is?
I'm of two minds. I want to say I'm gonna go with this is like a 40-year-old dude.
Oof. Okay. Not as close, really close in the lead up until right at the end where he said he was a racist. He doesn't mention race anywhere in here, so.
I mean so we don't know.
We don't know. It's unknown if he's a racist, but he has like.
If you don't listen, if you don't mention race, you're a racist. Race affects us.
Indeed, but anyway, he's at least 60 years old. This guy, almost to a T, big fleshy head, blue eyes, close cut haircut, but white hair, not blonde.
I should have, because I was thinking he's either old or young, and I split the difference. Like a coward. And
like a coward. But this is an old man talking about whether or not we should tweet in the engineering industry. So I'll go ahead and start the reading series. Over fine wine, my virtual girlfriend Amanda and I spent a lot of time tweeting while enrolled in a college media program together. After class, I sipped a Merlot in a Tennessee restaurant and tweeted my delight at hooking up with the teacher's pet. I think I probably should have explained that the thing about this article that I find really weird is the strange sexual pathology, where it's just like this old man is just saying these weird, creepy things about like hooking up with the teacher's pet. Maybe this is a generational thing, but when I hear hooking up, I don't think, oh, I'm in a relationship with this person. I think hardcore fucking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I found that it can mean different things to different people, but as coming from an engineering article, like very disconnected from the topic of engineering, this is a super weird open salvo for whatever we're talking about.
It immediately struck me as just bizarre that this guy was like, so I was enrolled in a class drinking wine with my virtual girlfriend Amanda, and we fucking. Before we continue this article, I want you to know, me and Amanda, we fucking. Very important piece of information for the rest of the article, which actually talks about using social media to market your engineering firm.
I don't fully understand what he's talking about with the virtual girlfriend. Is it just like he's talking to a woman online? What's going on here?
Oh my god. I don't know. He says my virtual girlfriend Amanda spent a lot of time tweeting while enrolled in a college media program.
I mean...
And then he's like, from her deck at home 500 miles away in North Carolina, she said that she was enjoying a glass of Cabernet and having fun learning to become a social media expert.
Is he on Chatterbait?
I don't know.
He is. Okay, continue.
And then at the end, so he talks about like the actual topic, which is, it's takes a lot of time, costs a minimal, but it can actually make something happen. Basic, stuff. And then at the end, he's like, meeting Amanda in person over a real life dinner at her family's recent vacation in Hawaii was as much fun for our spouses as it was for the two of us. It's like, big twist ending.
Wait. Oh man, my girlfriend's husband loved loved the dinner that I paid for.
That's the context of this article, is that this is like talking about hooking up with Amanda, the teacher's pet, and then at the end, just the bombshell that they're both already married. Yeah, that's an article I found, and it's about tweeting, so it's relevant to leftism as a whole, because leftism is just tweeting.
That's my understanding, anyways.
So I maybe we'll put that in, maybe we won't. Did you enjoy the first in our reading series?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't think the last episode had me ranting correctly about Death Note, so I think it's fine to waver a little bit. There's only so much about video games that we can talk about. I think little funny things is fine.
Alright, well, I think that's all the time we've got for now. We've probably gone over an hour. We'll try and cut it down a little bit. But where can people go to find you and your great online content?
My internet brand is available at Your Very Good Bud on Twitter. Other than that, that's it. Follow me on Twitter.
Yep, and I am at 8alton8 on twitter.com, where I make very silly posts, and I mostly do retweets because I'm lazy. Or you can find me on youtube.com/Alton Plays. Just search for Alton Plays, and I'll be the first one to pop up. Sorry, all you other Alton Plays. I'm the best at Alton playing.
Fuck the other Alton Plays. That's my statement on this podcast.
All right, but until next time.
Thank you so much for listening. From the bottom of my heart, I love you and support you.
Yes. So long, what is it? Cancerous beings with a dirt ideology.
So long, normal human beings. Until next time.
Goodbye.